what should someone like an engineer, right? I don't have an official like a design degree. What should be my path?
Yeah. I'll tell you the story, okay? So when I was at Unacademy, my main job when I joined them, and this was very early on, right? The engineering team was like less than 10 people. My main job was how do I build a team of designers? And so we got a lot of resumes. We looked at a lot of people that went to design school, a lot of people who did not. And can you guess which one was better?
The one who went to the design school?
No, they were both bad.
What?
Because each of these paths have gaps, right? They're both valid paths. If you have the time to spend 4 years to get a design degree, go for it. I'm sure you're going to have a lot of fun in college with other creative people. If you don't have 4 years, go down the self-learning path, right? But also try to find your communities that you can be a part of. But the point I was making is both have gaps. People in design school typically do projects in an academic setting, right? In a 4-year design degree, let's say you want to be a UI UX designer. UI UX design is 1 semester in a 4-year degree, maybe even lesser, right? It's a credit project or something. And what that means is that environment is totally the wrong one. It's a very academic setting. Not to say that's bad. Design school does teach you a lot about process, but the perfect process is not the one that you designed to be perfect, it's the one that works. So the gap that they have is being able to work in a real industry setting with people and being okay with, hey, we need to conceptualize it on Monday and release it on Friday. A design school grad will panic when that happens, right? Because their cycles are much longer. It's weeks and months. You get an entire semester to work on your project. That's the gap you see there. But when it comes to self-taught designers, it's a different gap. The gap is they know how to get something out, make a website, make an app, do something in Figma. But if you ask them how did they do it, they're like, bro, ऐसी मैंने कर दिया, मतलब buttons बनाया और हो गया, right? What's missing is the process. Because designers, your job is not to just do this once, right? Taking an idea, creating this product, and it's an app, website, service, whatever. Is to do this again and again and again and get better each time. Do it with more people. Do it in a collaborative setting. Do it with bigger challenges, bigger constraints. The variables keep changing. So if you want to do this again and again and not get tired out, what you need is process. Now design school, of course, does teach you process, but in a different setting, so not as useful. As a self-taught designer, you're just like jugaad karke kahin na kahin, we just need to get the output, but then you don't have a process. So in general, the answer to your question, do you need a design degree? If I had to reframe that as do employers look for a design degree, the answer is no, right? Me, when I was hiring, I would look at somebody with a design degree and without a design degree with equal eyes because I know they both have gaps. And I know that I can't just trust that design degree means they're good or self-taught means they're bad, right? So a design degree is just one variable on your resume and that says something, but it's not the deciding factor. So we have, out of the 2.5 years that I was there, we've probably hired maybe 10 product designers, another 10, 20 graphic designers. And I would say we leaned a little bit on the no design degree side. I would say maybe 70% of people did not have design degrees, but they did come from problem-solving backgrounds, right? A lot of them had in college made like mechanical cars and like remote control cars. Like that is a problem-solving ability. A lot of them were engineers and they were used to thinking from a systems perspective. That is problem-solving ability. A lot of them were from design school and had created, even if not direct products, they had created physical installations. They had created things that a normal freelance designer had never done. But that was also a problem-solving ability. That was the ability to think of who am I designing for, what do they want, and what goal am I getting them towards. So, short answer, if you think you want to go for a degree, if you think that makes you feel better, makes you feel safe, that's probably the wrong reason. If you want to go for a community, definitely, maybe it's a good idea. If you're going abroad for a design degree, yeah, that can be cool. You get to experience a whole new environment. But don't let the degree thing stop you. A lot of people use the design degree as an excuse ki this is why I'm bad. No, the reason you're bad is you've not practiced. The reason you're bad is because you're stuck in a loop. You're not making progress. You don't need a design degree. employers don't expect design degrees. You can do a lot, even if you're self-taught.
So interesting, right? Like, so I think it boils down to probably me just focusing on my skills. Just like, it doesn't matter if I am from some X design school or if I'm like self-taught, and just focusing my whole next 3, 6 months or next whatever time I have into getting better at my craft. I know that there has been a lot of talk about proof of work, portfolio. So from an employer's point of view, what kind of stuff do you look in a portfolio? Is this the case studies that matter? Is this the projects that matter? Even if some people have case study, they don't get hired. Like, what is the reason behind that?
Yeah, let's switch from an employer perspective. I have a product I'm working on. I need to hire people who can help me on this, who can help me design, who can help me solve problems, who can even tell me that the problems exist that I haven't seen. How do I hire somebody like that, right? That's my design problem as an employer. Now, of course, in an interview, I can ask like, yo, sell me this pen, like, sell yourself. Tell me everything so that you can convince me. But that's not the best way to go, right? Maybe you cannot in words convince me of that. However, I still need to build trust. Interviews are a way of building trust, right? You are building trust that this company is good to work for, and they are building trust that this person is worth hiring. Now, where does portfolio come in? What if I told you there was a way to build this trust even before you walked into the room? A way to build this trust without even speaking to the company. And you can do this at scale with 10 companies, 20 companies. What you need is a way to do that. That's the problem statement. And one solution is a portfolio. With this portfolio, what you're doing is you're saying, this is the stuff I've done in the past, right? What you've done. This is how I did it. So process. And this was the outcome, which means you changed something. And these three things, you're showing proof that I've done it once. It wasn't a fluke. ऐसे नहीं हुआ है. I can do it again. And I can do it even when the variables keep changing, right? So a portfolio and the case studies within this portfolio are just this demonstration that you've done it. Now, of course, when you're in the interview, they will ask you questions about it, right? Why are they doing that? They want to build trust. So is a portfolio necessary? See, if you don't have one, you're going to spend so much time trying to convince people. Do you really want to do that? Or do you want something on the internet that people can just type in your name and see all of the stuff that you've done? Not an easy thing, by the way. It takes a lot of work to do this. But that is something that you definitely want to have. Most designers, even today, although it's common knowledge, do not have it. When I Google somebody's name, I'll probably see their personal Instagram, maybe their LinkedIn. I need to see your work. I need to see the process, build trust. And I think portfolio is a great way of doing that.
So I think all in all, my all social media profiles, my website, my portfolio is a way of signaling trust to all the employers. So whenever they search for me or they look for me, that should convey trust. Am I right?
Yes. And the word for this is proof of work, right? Also used in crypto in a slightly different context, but similar. The idea is that all of these things are proof that you've done it. And now this can be validated and anybody can come and look at this, right? So a personal website, a YouTube channel, your Twitter, your Instagram, your LinkedIn, all these are options available to you. Now, as a designer, you might be overwhelmed, like, bro, how do I do all this? You don't have to do all this, but know why you're doing it and then pick one and then you can build it over time.
What are the basic fundamental habits as a designer or as an aspiring designer that someone needs to build from the start so that they don't have bad habits when they have 2 or 3 years of experience?
I think the main one, if I had to pick just one, is getting okay staring at a blank canvas. I think in general, the uncertainty of starting from a blank canvas scares people. And that fear causes procrastination, right? You're looking at this blank canvas, you don't know what to do, right? And the uncomfortable feeling that you get of looking at this, you're like, let's just quickly open YouTube for a sec, right? And then you're off. So number one, getting comfortable with being on a blank canvas. And let me just tell you this, it's not just new projects that will have blank canvas. Anytime you're designing anything, You are starting from nothing. You have all the past context you can look at. You can look at your data, the other products that were launched, who the users are, and all of this. But when you're designing something, there is a problem to be solved. There is something that needs to change. And through this design process, you are changing this thing. So get okay with uncertainty, right? Uncertainty is not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing because it tells you that there is a path to explore. There is a path to walk that maybe doesn't exist yet. Beyond that, the other habit is once you have this, once you actually have something, the uncertainty shifts into extreme comfort, right? And these two are the bad sides of the spectrum to be on. Once you're in extreme comfort, and what that means is you have something that you've designed, now you don't want to change it because you're like, what if it's not good? What if I don't want to get into an uncertain spot again? I have this and now I'm going to hold this dearly. What that stops you from doing is iterating, right? Your first solution is not going to be good. That's okay, but accept it. Make a second one, make a third one. Talk to people, talk to your founder, talk to your designers, talk to your PMs, talk to your engineers. Get that feedback, make a second version, third version. Now, of course, you don't have infinite time, so you have to be very smart about what you're iterating towards. Is it worth making that many versions just to get a little better? But in the end, we are hired to solve problems, right? The first solution might not be the best solution, it's just the first one. Find that best solution by iterating and get okay with that. Constantly switching from certainty to uncertainty.
I think I love your point about not sticking to the first solution, because in code as well, right? When I was just coding, I used to go to the first solution and think it was the best solution, but then I figured out that this is not the right way to go about it.
And the problem, right, is if you're not careful about this, you start hating everybody else. You're like, bro, kaise bata diya usne mujhe karna hai? Main kiya to hai. Now you start hating. You get into this angry mode. You're like, bro, why don't people like what I'm doing? But it's not a personal thing. Don't take it so personally. In the end, your first solution is not going to be a good one. You have to keep iterating, and that's actually your job, not to find any solution, but to find an optimized solution and keep refining that. So the minute you realize that, hey, it's actually okay, you stop taking it so personally. You stop creating this judgment and fights with, bro, ye to aise keh diya, and that's what makes you a good person to work with. That's what makes it such that you become a good designer. People want to work with you because you go down that path and you take them on that path with you.
I think that's a great, to be a good designer, you need to be a good team player as well, right?
Yes.
You need to take people along.
Yes.
Another question, I think subsequent question to this, how to get better at this craft, or how to practice design if you had to learn design from scratch again, right? So how would you go about practicing design? Because you said, right, that practice is super important. So how would you go about that?
Yeah. I would say the main skill of a product designer is solving problems using the design process. And the solutions to this typically look like products, services. To put it in simpler words, maybe you're designing an app for something. Maybe you're designing a website for something. Maybe you're designing a dashboard for something, right? I think a lot of people are like, let's practice making dashboards. Let's practice making screens. Let's practice making websites. And that's great. That's a great way to get started. In fact, find websites that you really love. Find apps that you think are really nicely designed, right? And set the bar high. And try to see, if I had to design this from scratch, like literally, even if I had to just copy the screen, would I be able to do it? And so that is your first challenge, right? Being able to recreate something that already exists. You can think about this as if you were a painter and you want to really get good at your brush strokes, the width, the pressure that you apply. A good technique is to try recreating, maybe not the Mona Lisa on your first attempt, but a basic landscape, a basic portrait, a basic type of image. Start with that. Start with recreating. Number two, go one level higher. What's the problem this thing is solving? So let's say if the app I picked was Zepto, and Zepto lets me very quickly order anything, right? It's almost like if I had a pantry in my house that was infinite and it only takes 10 minutes to get any item from it. Now that's a very interesting problem to solve. And the app does that in a very interesting way. But at that problem level, what are the ways it's not being solved? So one approach is get into the problems, think about how I can do this for an existing app, for a new app. The other equally important problem is how do I communicate this? How do I communicate the magic of something? And maybe you can do that through a website. Maybe you can do that through a video.
There is Coursera courses, YouTube playlists, some other channels, this, that. Like, how should I go about it? Like, what's the path to take, like, get entered into the design thing?
I would definitely suggest starting with those things, Coursera, YouTube, Udemy. And the gap that can help you fill is understanding, do you enjoy it? And developing a basic understanding of the tools you're going to be using. So let's say in this case, we're talking about UI UX design, it's Figma. But the mistake people typically make is now that they have this, they're like, what do I do? And then they're like, okay, let me also learn this. Let me also learn this. And you can keep going down that path of tools. And that is a never-ending path because number one, these tools get updates every single week, every single month. And number two, there are always new tools. So I think for somebody who's starting out, yes, definitely do the Udemy thing. But beyond that, think of this as a path that you have to go down. Udemy, with these skills that you have with Figma, you can start walking this path. But where are you going? Where are you going? Because you can keep walking and you will always find new parts to go to. But unless you know where you're going, that's not gonna take you where you would like to be.
So basically, you're trying to say that tools don't matter, but habits do, right?
Tools matter, but you can think about our tools as the hiking boots you're going to be using, right? Definitely needed, definitely makes your life easier. You can also think about the tools as your understanding of the space, right? In the end, you will have to use these tools, right? There's a task at hand and these tools are what make you a designer. But if you don't know what to use these tools for, the habits, the process, the outcomes that you're trying to create, the tools by itself is a skill you have, but you don't know how to apply it.
One thing, like now I'm taking this journey, like I'm taking this leap of faith, transitioning from field of engineering to transitioning to field of design. What are those mistakes that I should avoid, which makes my journey more easy and I reap the effects of the problems I didn't make after 2-3 years?
Yeah.
Like the problems which I don't make.
I think the answer that you gave is in the question.
Okay.
It's a journey.
Yeah.
Right? People who kind of just are learning the skills, who don't see it as a journey. They're like, I want to be in the same place I am right now. I don't want anything to change, but I want to learn Figma. But I want to become a designer. No, that's not how it works, right? That's almost like you are cycling, but you're on a stationary cycle. You're not making any progress. You're just constantly spinning the wheels, learning new skills, but you want to go somewhere. So understanding that it's a journey, at the end of this journey, you're going to be a very different person. Maybe your friends are going to change. Maybe you're going to have more people who are product people, designers and engineers. Your vocabulary is going to change, right? The way you talk about certain things is going to become very different. Your way of seeing the world is going to change, right? Now that you know design, you're going to look at objects and be like, wow, how did they do that? Your circle changes, your access to opportunities changes. Now you have access to this whole new field of opportunities that you don't even know existed before. But that's the journey, right? So the skill is very important. But the constant question you need to be asking yourself is, am I stuck in one place or am I moving along this journey? And then also you need to go what direction you're going, right? You might spend 3 months walking along that path, going in that direction, but you realize that, hey, I just walked a circle and it took me 3 months, but I didn't make any progress. That is okay. That comes back to the skill of being able to iterate and start over. Keep readjusting your direction and know that it's a journey. And on this journey, you need milestones. You need challenges. You need to do things that you've never done before. Why? Because at the end of this journey, you're going to be a different person. You need to prove it to yourself. You need to prove it to your peers. You need to prove it to your parents. You need to prove it to your employers that, hey, I am somebody who is good at doing this. I have the skills for what it takes. All these monsters along my path, all the animals along my path, I know what to do, right? That's what makes you a designer. Being able to adjust to the environment and move forward.
I think this has been a good stuck to unstuck kind of a thing. So,
Yes.
one last question that my curious mind has is the word community, the word peers has been in like talks on every social media platform. Even everyone is talking about community. You should have good peers. What do you think about that in a design world? Suppose I'm entering design, right? Like I'm going to enter design now. So how would a community or a good set of peers would matter to me, and how will they affect my journey?
Yeah. The main thing to observe is that transitions are difficult. This is a journey. Journeys are difficult. And if you are making this transition from being not a designer who knows nothing to a high value designer who earns money through design, works with amazing people, it's going to take you a while. Now, like any journey, there are going to be challenges, there's going to be pitfalls, there are going to be people saying you can't do it, there's going to be people saying, bro, are you sure? Engineering degree ki hai, us engineering job le lo, placements mein baith jao, right? In fact, it's not even going to be other people, it's going to be our own parents telling us this, right? Now that is a very difficult position to be in. Constantly feeling this doubt. You already have this doubt of, bro, will I be able to do it? You already have this doubt of, will I be able to build these skills in time? You already have these doubts of the outcome. Will I be able to get freelance projects, work with people, get a job, get an internship? What you need are other people who are also going through the same thing, so that it doesn't feel scary, right? If a couple hours later, we were to walk down this forest, there are no lights. Imagine how scary that's going to be. But if there is somebody who's walked through this forest multiple times before, they can tell you, hey, watch out for that direction. Hey, where do you want to go? Okay, take this path, right? Or if you're doing it in the group, you're going to feel less scared because you know that if something happens and I fall and I break my foot, or I, accidentally step into the water and now I'm wet and I'm standing here alone, scared. You know that if you have a tribe of people along with you, they're going to help you. And when the time is right, you are going to help them. So for every transition, it's good to do it in a group. And that's why I think you need a community. You need a peer group. Some people already have that. Some people have to work hard towards it. You can definitely do it without it. Maybe it takes you way longer. But there's this proverb which is, if you want to go fast, go alone. But there are pitfalls. You will keep falling and having to get up. If you want to go far, you want to make this transition, go together.
I think this retreat has given me a direction to enter into design. Thanks, Abhinav. I think it was great talking to you.
Awesome, bro. Looking forward to seeing your work.
Yeah.